Howdy folks, Little John out in the brewery, and looking at a new episode of the Whisky Jar. While I'm doing that, I'm going to have myself a can of apple cider courtesy of Kev Bristol. Okay, that'll keep me refreshed anyway. Righto. So, what I'm doing, I've had a request to get some honey bourbon. I haven't made any for a while. I've been asked for it a few times over the last sort of couple of years, but how I go about doing it. So, while I'm going to do it, I might as well go through the process. So, today is day one. There's a couple of steps involved, so we'll go through each one. So, starting off, first thing I'm doing, got a little bit of water here on the hot plate just warming up, because I need to make sure my honey is pasteurized. The last time I used honey from the daughter-in-law's father from these bees. I don't have any of that available at the moment, so I'm just using the stuff I've got in the cupboard. This is actually honey. It's from New Zealand. I got it bloody half price at Woolies a little while back. And as we all know, given the price of honey, I wasn't knocking back half price honey, and supposedly New Zealand stuff is pretty good. So here we go. So what I'm looking at is I use 150 grams of the honey per litre. Well, 150 grams of honey and 100 grams of water per litre of spirit. I found that gives me a nice level of flavour, and it keeps the spirit at a decent level. Last time I did it, I started with 47% ABV spirit, which I calculated probably got down to about 37% after it had been honeyed. So this time I've got a bit of a mix. I've got about a litre of 42%, another 700 of 36%, and I've got a jar which I'm going to pull out, which I will top it up with. So I'm going to mix up using this, and then I'll top up the final thing to get 3 700ml bottles, but I'm going to use it for 60% barrel proof, which has been just sitting on oak for the last extra oak for the last 3 months. So that will just, I think, bring up and finish the final thing off. So first thing I want to do is I've got to get me 300 grams of honey into my water and get it pasteurising. So 436. While I'm getting that in there, a big shout out to all the Patreons. As always, guys, thanks for your support. If you're interested in Patreon, there's a link in the description below. Jump on there and have a look. Now, so I want to pasteurize the honey, which means I need to get up to 82 degrees and keep it there for 20 or 30 minutes. Just make sure there's no bugs in here, which might cause an issue in the spirit. I'd be very surprised. But what it also does is just makes it makes it easier to mix in. Obviously, if you stick honey in, that's just going to signal the bottom, and how well you try and mix it into your spirit, it's going to separate and drop out. And you'll see we'll get we'll get a bit of separation anyway, even when we're doing this method. But by getting it nice and dissolved into the water, it gives us a far better chance of it actually taking in the final spirit. Halfway there. Well, we got a big shout out to the subscribers as well, guys. If not subscribed, hit the subscribe button down there in the corner. Hit the like button as well. All helps out. Just taking me time here. So the last thing I want to do is burn or scorch this honey. I don't want anybody. I don't want to burn honey for the flavour. Now, the honey I originally used was, like I said, from the daughter-in-law's old man, is quite sweet. It's a nice, very gentle but very sweet honey. This is quite similar. I actually went and bought another jar today, so I wasn't sure if I had enough of this in the cupboard without checking. But it's a the honey was a bit stronger, a bit deeper in flavour, so I think I'm going to stick with this. So I'm going to stick with this lighter one. I'd really like to try to do this with, there's a local fella who once a year he brings out a honey which is made with the flowers off the Patterson's Curse. And it's really, really delicate. I think it'd go really well in this, but we're nearly there. Beautiful. That's us. So I have me 300 grams of honey in here. I'll bring that heat up a little bit. So I said, yeah. So I don't want to burn it, and I don't necessarily want to boil it either, but I do want to get it nice and hot. So 82 degrees is the magic number we need to get it over to make sure it is pasteurised. So we should be all good. So let's see where we're at. That's mid 80s, about 86. So I'll let that back to then, just let that sit. Okay, so how's it? Gonna let that sit for a while. Where didn't I check out of? Okay, that's good. Apparently I've been on the VP all day. So I'm going to check in, let me. Alright. Okay, so got myself a 2 litre jar. It's not bad, Kev. This is part of the big collection of, I mixed all the barrels and stuff together a few months back. It's nice and smooth. It's probably quite a bit smoother than the bourbon, the base that I used on the original honey. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to get any more than that in there. Let's stop there. So originally it was just a couple of batches of UJSSM. Wasn't barrel aged, it was only oaked. So this stuff is, I think, a bit smoother, which is why I'm going to throw in some of the barrel proof that's gone back on. No, it's been in the barrels for a while, and it's gone out, and I'm just opening it some more. It was just a little bit. So again, it's the same stuff that this was mixed from, cut down from, but it's just that little bit too smooth. Yeah. Not that that's a bad thing generally, but I want a little bit more oomph in this. So let that go for now. Give it 20 minutes. We'll come back, stick him in. Righto, it's been about 25 minutes. So add the honey and water mixture. Now, so you could let this cool down, but I'm not going to bother. And she goes. And that's it. So I'll just put that lid on just loose for the moment, so nothing gets in there, but so it doesn't bloody pressurise from the heat. Let it cool off a little bit. I'll seal it up properly later, but for now I'll let that sit for a week. In a week we'll come back and we'll run it through a filter with a taste of how it's tasted, and continue on the process. So I'll see you in a week's time. Okay, been a week since we added the honey to our bourbon. So this has just been sitting all week. Now, it's picking up. There's a lot of cloudy stuff in there, which I'm assuming is proteins and stuff from the honey. But most of it's settled out to the bottom of the jar. So I want to filter that off, get the clean stuff off that, so we can let it filter again. So just going into a demijohn. Doesn't matter as long as you've got a big enough jar. It's got just a coffee filter paper there, and I'm just going to pour through that. It'll take a little while to get it all through. It won't filter through particularly quickly. And I'll probably need to change filter papers a few times as we go, especially with this amount of protein to filter that out. but yeah, that's going very slow, which is not real good. But as I said, yeah, go through a few papers doing this, but basically just do this while I'm doing other things around the place, so can just sit to the side and go through. It might take 2 hours from start to finish, but it does normally go a little bit quicker than that. There's a lot more protein in that than what I've got previously, which is interesting. As I said, this is store-bought, as opposed to last time I've done this I used the stuff from the daughter-in-law's old man. So I don't know what difference that makes. I certainly didn't get this proteiny stuff last time when I did it. It was more just a little bit of the heavy stuff, and the honey tend to sink to the bottom. So, right, I'll leave that go for a minute and keep going, and I'll have a quick look at that when we get to the end, before we go on to the next stage. Right, took us a little while, but we got there. This is actually the next morning, and that's what we've ended up in the jar. You can see, I was going to pick up there on the camera, there's a little bit of stuff building up in the bottom already, just overnight. It's been close to 24 hours, maybe 20 hours since I've put everything back into this jar. So that's after a week. I can actually get a taste on it. Okay, it's got a nice honey, plenty of honey there. Still a little bit of bite from the bourbon, and of course that's going to get a little bit more of that barrel aged stuff on it yet, so that will pull the honey flavour back a little bit, which will be good, because it is quite strong there at the moment. But that's it. So that's, I'm going to let that sit for another week. There's quite a bit of stuff still suspended there, which will drop out, and we'll run that through and filter it again. So see you then. Righto folks, another week has passed. It's actually been a little bit more, it's been like a week and 2 days. It's Wednesday, I was meant to do this on Monday. But we're ready to do our next filter. So that's our jar that's sat for the week. Now, it's picking up, there's a fair bit of crud in the bottom of that, but other than that, it's nice and clear and clean. So we want to filter this again, so it's just the same process. We just grab on a jar or two, whatever you've got. I normally just go into another one of these 2 litre jars, but I've got they've all got stuff in them at the moment. So just going into this bloody demijohn, that's all good. Will work. And just pour her in and let it go. Now hopefully this this week's filter should be a little bit quicker than last week. Last week's was fairly slow, but there's a lot more crud still in the spirit and suspended, so the paper's got locked up a bit quicker. This has got a lot less in it because we've already had one round of filtering and it's settled again. So and we just go through the process. Let them let them run through again. Change the paper as we need to. Okay, it's tasting pretty good. So you can see there we're getting a nice, I'm hoping you can see it, getting a fairly steady run through there, so definitely a lot quicker. Like I said, you can see from looking at that jar how much clearer it is in general. Most of the crud has settled. Now I've stirred a little bit back up with pouring it, but there's not much I can do about that with the method I got. I mean, but the reality is you could split your entire original amount into smaller jars and then fill to one jar to go, so only pouring off once and not sort of stirring up what's in the bottom. But yeah, we're going to get most of this off fairly easy. It's only going to be when we get down to the bottom we're going to start having problems where we stirred up a whack, and you just got to sort of be as gentle as you can. Just like that. So you don't stir it up too much. As I said again, this process, you lose some volume, so you just need to be aware of that, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the way it is. You're losing. I start with 2 litres in this jar or thereabouts. I probably end up with maybe 1.6 litres, 1.7 of product. You're losing 10 to 15, maybe 10 to 15% you probably lose over the process of the filtering. But I suppose you could push that a bit harder if you want, if you're willing to really drain all this into the filter and actually filter the whole lot, and put up with the the couple of hours it might take for that last bit to filter. You could do it, but it's for what this costs to make. It's not killing me to lose that amount of base. Obviously, if I stood up to do this, it would make life a bit easier. So you can see there, that crud's starting to really stir up now. We'll let that just sit for a little bit while this is filtering through. It will probably help me to get a little bit more of that off. And I suppose I could leave that sit now for another 2 days. Let it settle again and get the top off a bit easier. It comes down to some degree about how much time you're willing to spend, and how often you want to do it. Most of that's going to drop out pretty quickly. I've got most of it filtered already, so a little bit that's left in there, it's not going to matter if it takes an hour or 2 to actually get through and filter. I'm not too concerned about that. But what's coming off at the moment is lovely and clear and clean. So I'm happy with how we're tracking at the moment. So I'll come back in a minute. We'll have a look at how this final batch, how this looks going back into the jar for its final week of settling. Right, it's all filtered. It's actually the next day. I didn't get back to it last night, but see, we've still got a good whack of our original amount. You can see the line up here where we started, so we haven't lost a real lot. You can see there it's just starting a little bit of cloudiness through that as it's starting to drop out again. But this will be the last time. So next, so we'll let this sit for now another, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. We'll see how we go with timing. And we'll look at final filter and getting it into some in some bottles and see what the final final product tastes like. So, see you then. Righto, we're ready to give this its last filter. It's sat now for another week since it got last filtered. You can see she's looking nice and clear. There's just a little bit of muck on the bottom of the jar there. Not a real lot. So this time we just want to get just filtering to get the last of it out. The aim of being at this point to leave us a nice stable product in the bottle that will not develop any real crud as it sits. I'm trying not to stir too much out of here. Yeah, I'll get my bottle I've got sitting here, which has been aging for a while. This is my bottle, the last of the bottles from the last time I did this, which would have been 18 months ago. And the number's going to show up on there, and you can see there's a lack of honey in the bottom there. Yeah, so even though this has been filtered the same method, even though you go for it a couple of times, you'll still get some stuff dropping out. It's pretty hard to not have some of that, you know, the heavy solids from the honey that are going to slowly drop out. It's not a big drama, and if you were to drink that, you know, drink the bottle pretty quickly, you wouldn't even it wouldn't even develop. But that's what it can do in a little bit of time. I don't know if there's a hell of a lot you can do that with the homebrew process. Anyway, we're going to let this run. Come back when it's finished. We'll do the final cut with the barrel stuff. Just to the 3 bottles that I want to get. We'll have a bit of a taste. Okay, finished filtering. I'll split into two bottles. Now, I did say I was trying to get 3 bottles. By 3 bottles I was talking now, 750ml. But I'm going to grab the bottles to actually fill. I've only got one 750ml bottle, the rest are litres. So I'm going for 2 litres. So just grab the little sample straight off. So this is just the straight honey. And I'm going to top this up in a second. These. Get them as equally filled as I can. Yeah. Close enough. Okay, so okay, that's nice and smooth, and the honey's fairly dominant, which is good because I'm going to top these little bottles up with this fella, which is this is the stuff I had that I aged in my barrels. It's barrel strength at 60%. It came off the barrel actually back in February because my barrels were losing a lot of volume. A couple of chunks of char in there, so it wasn't quite as oaky as I would have liked. So this has been sitting now for well, 6 months on these extra couple of chunks of oak. So I've not tried this up until this point, so if nothing else, I'll have a little bit of a taster. But this is going in here, so this will bring up the alcohol. Oh Jesus, if I can get in there without losing it all. I'll catch on fire. That's bloody. Tell you, lucky this stuff's bloody not expensive. Christ. I think that's the alcohol content, just clinging to the glass. It doesn't cling as much from the silver lower. Anyway, I'll have a taste on that. Oh, jeez. That's got some go about it. A lot of flavour in that. Oh, shit, buddy. Ooh. Crikey. Anyway, let's cut this, not to cut this back, but it's to mellow the honey somewhat, and also to bring the alcohol level back up. Because the honey processes the honey, and obviously the water and stuff drops your alcohol content, which I think I discussed earlier. So this stuff started at about 42%, so it probably finished somewhere around 35, 36. So I'm estimating, and it's only an estimate, I haven't really crunched the numbers, that by adding this 60% back into here, we're going to get this somewhere back up around bloody, back around 40%, maybe 42. I'm also going to darken the colour a bit. And that's our final product, which I'm pretty happy with. I'm liking that. See what she comes up like. Don't take too much. So the noses, it's bourbon, vanilla. Definitely getting the honey note there, but you still pick it up, that underlying bourbon sort of bourbon smell. Yeah, that's good. Probably could have pushed this a little bit, just a touch too far. It's it's added just probably a fraction too much of the big flavour. But no, it's still nice. There's a good level of honey there. I think
the recipient will be more than happy with those. So obviously doing it your own, you can mix your level, work out where you like it at. I said this is previous batch, which I think, I said, worked out to be about 37% alcohol. So the colour is a bit lighter, it's more like the original colour on this one. And there's much more honey. Yeah, probably shouldn't have added, probably could have added half of that maybe. Or could have gone just a one that had already been cut. But as I said, I don't think anyone's going to complain. So, honey bourbon. You're making your own bourbon. That's an easy process. Just takes a little bit of time. You just got to set a little bit of space aside for a couple of jars, a couple of bottles. The filtering takes a while start to finish, but you only got to come and tip some in, come back bloody 20 minutes later, tip a bit more in, 20 minutes later, tip a bit more in. Do that a few times over an afternoon, it's done. Let it sit for a week and repeat the process 3 times, and final product, honey bourbon. As good as anything you buy in the shop, fraction of the cost. Anyway, all good. Got any comments, any questions? Stick them down the bottom. As always, Patreons, guys, thank you for your support. Big thumbs up. If you're not a Patreon, you're interested in becoming a patron, the link's down the bottom. Have a look, check it out. Might just be for you. If you aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, thank you. Either way, hit the thumbs up down there at the bottom, because that helps little John out. So that's me. Whisky Jar. Making your honey bourbon. Have a crack at it. So until I see you again, cheers.